Timothy Reeves. Your daughter is 8 now, isn't she?
She can't know that. I've never seen her before in my life.
And the truck you drive, a red Chevy, lifted with a scratch on the tailgate from that deer strike 2 years back.
I never posted about that truck. No one outside my family knows about that scratch.
But Timothy kept his hands moving. He tightened the strap around the splint, his headlamp cutting across her frost-white skin.
Your old dog, Baxter. He died 2 winters ago. You buried him under the oak behind your house by the fence.
She said the words like they were common knowledge. Then her eyes rolled back, and the shivering stopped. The helicopter cut through the darkness 5 minutes later. Its searchlight flooded the clearing as the crew jumped out. Timothy handed her over without a word, then stood alone as the rotor wash flattened the brush and the helicopter lifted away.
8 years in this county. No one should know that much about me. No one.
3 days later, Timothy stood in the hospital doorway. Amanda was propped up on pillows, alert but pale.
You are the one who pulled me off that rock. I don't remember anything after I fell.
You said some things out there. Do you remember any of it?
Nothing. The last thing I knew was the trail crumbling. Then I woke up here. Did I say something wrong?
Her confusion was genuine. No conspiratorial flicker, no hesitation. She truly had no memory of the rescue beyond his arrival.
She didn't just forget what she said. There's no memory at all, nothing to trace.
He tracked down the floor nurse outside. The only identification Amanda had when she arrived was her own wallet and a trailhead registration slip. No one had asked about him. No one could have told her his name, or his daughter's age, or the spot where his dog was buried. He drove home in the gray light of dawn, the road empty, the radio off. The words she had spoken on the slab looped in his silence.
There is no rational explanation, none that fit, and that means something else is happening.
That week, Timothy sat alone in his dark living room, laptop open. He scrolled through every public profile he had.
No location tags, no personal photos. I've never posted about Baxter or the truck. There's nothing.
He checked old text threads, work logs, even the obituary for the dog. Nothing connected to her. No breach, no leak.
I am looking for a needle that isn't there. Whatever she tapped into, it wasn't information she found.
A few days later at the station, he tried to edge around the topic with a colleague who had been on the squad for 20 years.
Ever get a call where the patient seems to know things they shouldn't?
The older medic chuckled, not unkindly. The backcountry messes with your head, Reeves. Sleep deprivation, stress, happens to all of us.
He thinks I am cracking. Maybe I am, but that doesn't explain what I heard.
He let it drop. He finished his shift, went home, and for the first time in days, he tried to sleep without replaying the call.
Bury it, move on. That's the only way to do the job, but I'll be listening.
A week later, he splinted a hiker's ankle on a dusk trail. The man thanked him, shivering, saying nothing else. The next call was a hip fracture near a creek. They loaded the patient into the helicopter under floodlights, and Timothy felt nothing out of place. On a summer afternoon, he knelt beside a child who had scraped a knee on a gravel trail. He cleaned the wound, and the boy's mother thanked him.
This is what it used to be. Just medicine and miles. It's been weeks.
The memory of Amanda's voice on the granite faded. Work became routine again. Fractures, hypothermia, the familiar rhythm of the backcountry. On a cold night, he treated a logger with a chainsaw gash. The man spoke only about the cut, nothing else. Timothy allowed himself a breath.
There is nothing. It really was just one night, one impossible night.
But in the quiet moments, driving home, checking gear, the question crept back. He studied each patient's face, waiting for a sign.
They always look like strangers, because they are. That's what I have to remember, but I am still listening. I can't stop listening.
5 years had worn grooves into his face. The red jacket was faded, the stubble flecked with gray. The call came at 2:47 a.m. A mountain biker, possible broken arm, remote spur trail. Timothy clipped the radio to his vest and hiked into the dark. He found the bike twisted among manzanita, helmet 10 feet away. Then his headlamp caught movement on the ground. Kyle lay on his side, clutching his arm, shallow breathing, but his eyes tracked Timothy as he knelt.
Timothy Reeves, I knew you'd come. Your daughter's 12 now, isn't she? Still has the allergy to bees. The truck's still running, even after that transmission rebuild last spring. And Baxter, you still visit the Oak.
The transmission rebuild. I haven't told anyone, not even at work. How could he know?
Timothy's hands moved with practiced precision. Splint, sling, vitals. But his jaw was locked, and every second stretched.
Don't be afraid. The forest remembers.
Then his eyes rolled back, and his body went slack. Timothy kept working, alone in the dark, until the helicopter broke the silence. 2 days later, Timothy stood beside Kyle's bed. The arm was in a cast, and Kyle was groggy but awake.
You are the medic who found me. Thank you. That's all I remember. The crash, then the lights from your headlamp, and then this room.
He doesn't know. The words he spoke on the trail are completely gone.
He asked the floor nurse if anyone had been in contact. No visitors, no private information given. He leaned against the hallway wall, the fluorescent light hammering. This was not a one-time anomaly.
It's a pattern. It has rules, and it will happen again.
He wrote his incident report with clinical precision, omitting every word about his daughter or the truck. He walked out into the cold night. The same truck waiting, but the road felt narrower, darker.
I am not safe from this, but I will answer the next call, and the one after that.
That night, Timothy sat at his kitchen table, laptop open, headlamp on beside him. The house was silent. He searched for news reports, missing person cases, anything linking the two rescues. There was nothing. Then, deep in an old forum for first responders, he found a 3-sentence post from a firefighter in Oregon. The post described a patient who knew the firefighter's childhood address. No reply, no follow-up.
It's not just me. Someone else has seen this. But the post is old, anonymous, a dead end.
He pulled out old dispatch logs, spreading them across the table. Dates, names, coordinates, none intersected. He marked both incidents on a county map. Pin 1 for Amanda, pin 2 for Kyle. Miles apart, no pattern.
The only common factor is me. Wherever I respond, the darkness is waiting.
He spent weeks refining the data, searching for a clue. The logbook thickened, but the answers stayed blank.
No explanation, no prediction, just the certainty that another call will come.
A year passed. The call came at 3:03 a.m. An elderly birdwatcher with a broken ankle, off the Pine Grove spur. Timothy pulled on his headlamp and hiked in.
Timothy Reeves, you buried Baxter under the oak, but you never planted the azaleas he liked. You still carry that guilt, and when you were 5, your mother sang Mockingbird Hill at bedtime. You haven't heard that song in 40 years.
40 years since I heard that song. No one knows she sang it, not even my daughter.
He tried to keep her talking, to ask how she knew, but her words trailed off, and her eyes went glassy. She was unconscious by the time he secured the splint. Her breath shallow but steady against the cold. The helicopter lifted her into the dark. Timothy stood alone. The rotor wash dying, her words still echoing. That night, he sat at his kitchen table and opened a fresh notebook. A logbook for the unexplained. In the first entry, he wrote Mockingbird Hill and the azaleas, along with the date and location.
I'll write down every word from now on. Maybe the pattern will show me what's happening.
He transferred the data to the county map, adding a third pin. The points formed no cluster, no radius. The incidents spread across the county, miles apart, on different trails and ridges. No geographic pattern emerged. He added dates and times to the log. Every call had come after midnight, deep in the backcountry.
No pattern, nothing to predict the next one. Just the dark and the silence before a stranger speaks my name.
He cross-referenced weather, moon phases, even rescue operator shifts. The data refused to align.
The only constant is me, and the dark, every call in deep night, miles from anyone.
The logbook became a catalog of unnatural knowledge, each entry a new invasion of his life. Late dispatches now felt like a threat. The radio crackle became a sound he braced for.
I still answer, every call, but now my hands shake when I turn the key. Watching, waiting, recording, but I am more helpless than ever. The dark knows me now.
6 months later, a call came for a teenage camper with a severe arm injury at the old Loon Creek site. Timothy hiked in, the tent a pale shape in the dark. Inside, a flashlight hung from the ceiling, casting swinging shadows. Leo sat clutching his bleeding arm, his face pale with pain and fear.
Timothy Reeves, your daughter turned 13 last month. You bought her a telescope because she's afraid of the dark.
Telescope? I haven't told anyone. That's new. That's impossible. How do you know me, Leo? Who told you these things?
I just do. It's like a dream I can't wake up from. I see your face and the woods, and the words just come.
His voice was barely a whisper, his eyes unfocused, as if he were still inside that dream. Timothy's hands went still. He stared at the boy for a long moment, then continued the bandaging. Leo's head lolled, and his breathing deepened. He slipped into unconsciousness just as the helicopter thumped outside.
A dream. They all share something, not just facts. A connection to the wild, to my past. This is the first sign of something deeper.
At his kitchen table, Timothy opened the logbook and added Leo's words beneath the others. The telescope, the song, all of it. He reread the entries. 3 names, 3 sets of impossible details. Each patient a vessel for his hidden life.
They weren't just facts. They were fragments of my past, stitched together by something else, some collective memory.
He turned to the internet, searching for cases of shared hallucinations. Dissociative fugue. The clinical explanations felt hollow. But another forum post stopped him. A hiker in Montana who woke in the woods speaking a stranger's name. He dug into mountain folklore, old stories of the wilderness holding the dead's memories, trails that remembered those who walked them.
This is madness. I am a medic, not a ghost hunter, but the data doesn't lie.
He closed the laptop and stood at the window. The moon cut through the trees like a watchful eye.
If the forest keeps memory, then my life is written in these woods, and every rescue is a reading.
He didn't know what to believe anymore. But the line between rational and unknown had cracked wide open. A 5th call, 2:11 a.m., climber fallen at Devil's Gate. Timothy rappelled down the icy cliff, headlamp carving the dark. The man was unconscious, head wound. When Timothy checked breathing, a folded note fell from the jacket pocket. Timothy Reeves, Cougar Ridge. You froze. Raphael died. The forest remembers.
No one knew. I buried it, the hesitation, the fear, and now it's written back to me.
His hands moved automatically. Collar, splint. The man's pulse faltered. Timothy delivered CPR. The note crushed in his glove. The rescue team arrived. Timothy climbed up and stood alone, the crumpled paper still in his fist. At home, his daughter talked about her day. He answered in monosyllables, staring at the wall. She grabbed her backpack and left. He didn't say goodbye. That night, he stood at the window. The moonlit forest seemed to press inward, silent and waiting.
It's not just memories. It's a reckoning. The wilderness keeps score, and I am losing.
2 nights later, Timothy found the veteran paramedic alone in the station bay. The older man was cleaning a backboard.
Have you ever had a call where the patient knew things about you? Private things from years back.
The medic paused, then shrugged. The wilderness plays tricks, Reeves. Post-traumatic stress will put faces to old ghosts.
He doesn't get it. This isn't trauma. This is someone reading my diary on the forest floor.
At home, he opened his gear duffel and stared at the stethoscope. The thought of leaving it all behind sat heavy.
I could resign tomorrow. No more midnight hikes, no more strangers speaking my secrets.
But he remembered Amanda's pale face on the granite, Kyle's broken arm, Mrs. Harper's song.
I am the only one who heard them. If I walk away, who listens? Who remembers?
He zipped the duffel shut and set it by the door, ready for the next call. He didn't have answers, but he had patience. The wilderness would speak again, and he would be there. 3 months later, a search and rescue call. Missing hiker, last seen near Shadow Creek. Timothy joined the team with a thermal scope. They found him curled beneath a fallen pine, hypothermic, barely conscious. Timothy wrapped him and started warming. The hiker's eyes flickered open. His lips moved, barely a whisper through the frost. Timothy Reeves, you will understand someday. The words were calm, certain, like a promise from the dark.
Understand what? Why this is happening? He knows me, but this is different.
Then the hiker's eyes slid shut. The vitals were weak but stable. Timothy worked in a strange stillness. Later, at his table, he opened the logbook and wrote the date. And those 4 words, you will understand someday.
6 calls. 6 strangers. This isn't coincidence. It's a path. A path I am meant to walk.
He closed the book and sat in the dark. No more frantic searching, only waiting, cold, patient, certain.
Someday. Every trail, every rescue, every midnight, it's all moving toward that word. I'll be listening.
Days blurred into a single pattern. Wake, wait, respond, wait again. The county's trails felt like ambush points. He reread the logbook as a letter smuggled from the dark. 7 names, 7 catalogs of his hidden life.
Each fact, telescope, song, failure, like pieces of a message I can't unscramble. What if I am not meant to decode it?
At night, the trees outside his window seemed to lean closer. The moon watched like an eye. The wind, a whisper he couldn't catch. On a routine ankle sprain. The patient's silence felt heavier than any secret. The ordinary had become a prelude. After the call, he sat in the truck, engine off, radio static hissing. The dispatch light a red eye in the dark.
It's not just the calls anymore. The whole forest is holding its breath. It's waiting too.
His daughter's voice on the phone sounded thin, a transmission from another world. He answered in short sentences, half lost. Late night, the log book open, headlamp off. He sat in the dark, letting the silence fill the room, like a cocoon of dread.
I am not reading a message from the wilderness. I am the message. And soon, something will read me.
His supervisor pulled him aside after a shift. The words were gentle but pointed. Withdrawn, distracted, recommend you see someone. The therapist's office was warm, neutral. Timothy sat with his red jacket hanging on the chair, his hands restless.
I've been having trouble sleeping. The calls blur together.
He gave no details. No logbook, no secret shame. The truth was unspeakable. The gap between his world and hers was a chasm. She used soft words. Isolation, stress exposure, defensive withdrawal. He nodded, said nothing, and left early.
She'd call it psychosis if I said the forest reads my life back to me through the lips of strangers.
That night, he stood at the window again, the forest pressing in. The moon was sharp, accusing.
No one can walk this with me. It's mine. The burden, the knowledge, the waiting.
He lifted the sleeve of his jacket, the WEMT patch frayed at the edges, a badge of duty and of secret exile.
The logbook is the only thing that knows. I'll keep writing, I'll keep writing, I'll keep answering, alone.
On the 7th call, a storm lashed the ridge. Lightning split the sky as Timothy reached the fallen pine. He sawed through branches, rain blinding, until he found her. A woman pinned beneath the trunk, eyes open, calm. Her voice cut through the thunder. "Timothy Reeves, you've been seeking an answer. We are the forest's memories."
She's not shivering, not in shock. She's speaking like a messenger.
She continued, "Every person you've saved carries a piece of you. Your fears, your failures, your love."
Who are you? How do you know this?
Her face remained serene. "Because you were here before, with us, in the between." Then her eyes closed. The storm seemed to pause. Timothy stood with the saw in his hand, rain mixing with something else. The helicopter's searchlight found them 20 minutes later. He loaded her in silence, his hands mechanical.
The between. I've never died. But maybe the forest knows something I don't.
Timothy knelt alone on the storm-soaked ground long after the helicopter's sound faded, the saw forgotten beside him. The words in the between echoed louder than the thunder had. He could still see the woman's calm, knowing eyes.
I've never died. But what if the forest thinks I did? What if I was here before, in some way I can't remember?
He drove home through mud-slick roads, the truck's headlights cutting weakly through the last of the rain. His mind a tangled thicket.
The logbook. I need to write this down. Not just what she said, but what it means for every call I've ever taken.
At his kitchen table, he opened the logbook and wrote, "Storm call." Patience spoke of forest's memories and the between.
She said every saved person carries a piece of me. That means all those faces, they're part of this. They've carried me.
He closed the logbook and stared at the patched sleeve of his jacket, the frayed EMT emblem.
I am not just a medic, I am a vessel. The wilderness speaks through me, and I speak back through my work.
The rain had stopped. Through the window, the moon emerged, and the forest was silent. No dread, only a grim, unfathomable belonging. Later, he sat in the truck cab, engine off, the after-image of her calm face hovering behind his eyes.
So each rescue isn't an end. The patients keep a part of me. That's why they know.
Inside, he opened the logbook and added one more line. "I am no longer searching."
These 7 calls aren't invasions. They're echoes of myself, scattered and returned.
He closed the book and locked it in the desk drawer, the key cold in his palm. He walked out to the truck and opened the gearbox, checking supplies for the next call.
I am the record now. The forest will speak, and I will answer. No more fear.
The red jacket felt heavier now, but the weight was not dread. It was purpose. He climbed into the driver's seat and stared at the dark trail that led back into the woods.
There will be an 8th call, and a 9th. I'll be ready. I'll be listening.
Weeks later, Timothy walked the familiar trails again, his gait steady but his eyes deeper, quieter. A call came for a child's scraped knee. He knelt, cleaned the wound, and the family thanked him. Nothing more.
No strange words, no hidden memories. Maybe the cycle broke.
But as he packed his kit, he scanned the tree line once, twice, a reflex born from years of listening. In the truck, the radio crackled with the daily traffic. He stared at the handset, waiting.
Not tonight, but it will come. The forest never forgets. It only holds its breath.
He drove the empty roads at dusk, the forest a dark wall on both sides, familiar and vast. He checked his gear with a ritual precision, the EMT patch catching the last light.
I am more ready now than I've ever been, but the waiting is its own kind of dispatch.
He sat in the silence, engine off, listening to the forest press against the metal frame of the truck. On the 13th year, under a quarter moon, the radio crackled at 2:17 a.m. Hiker with leg fracture, Buckhorn Ridge. Timothy knew the tone. He hiked in, headlamp, steady. At the coordinates, a man his age lay on the gravel, leg twisted, breathing hard. The man looked at him and spoke without preamble, reciting the familiar details as if from a stored archive.
Nothing new. No revelation. Just the same litany, like a greeting now.
Timothy knelt and began the work. The man's voice faded into unconsciousness as he secured the splint. Vitals steady. The helicopter lifted him away. Timothy stood with the familiar emptiness, then turned for the long walk back. At his table, he opened the logbook and wrote a single line. 13th year. Buckhorn. The usual words, no revelation.
Another entry, another echo. The forest stores my life, and I keep its log.
He closed the book and put on his headlamp, not to leave, but to sit at the window. The beam cut the dark glass. Outside, the trees stood black, silent. No wind, no call, only the steady breath of the wilderness waiting with him. Later, deep in the woods, Timothy sat on a cold boulder, his headlamp off for the first time in years. The darkness was total, pressing against his closed eyes. He listened. The forest breathed around him, a slow and ancient rhythm. Nothing else.
County dispatch to Reeves. Report of an injured hiker, possible spinal. Coordinates incoming.
Already, I am needed again.
He stood, pulled the headlamp over his forehead, and pressed the switch. The beam cut a narrow path through the void. He adjusted the medical pack on his back. Without hesitation, he stepped forward. The rock stayed behind, cold and mute in the empty dark.
Reeves, confirm you are en route.
The beam bobbed through the trees, a small sun against the infinite black, and then the forest closed around it. The trail waited, patient as the wilderness, for many midnights to come.